Yeah, what's up, gang?
What's up?
Oh shit. I mean, okay. We already awarded it to Brightside for his loyalty and devotion. I can't take it away from him, Omni.
I'm definitely going to build a bot whose cold, unfeeling logic will determine the winner of this, and there will be no judgment.
It's almost more fun, though, if we do this, like, you know, arbitration from on high and decide who gets first.
Arbitration from on high, I like that. Like, what are we doing today? Cold, unfeeling logic or arbitration from on high?
Yes, dude, yes. Exactly. There will be one day where we decide that LFQ gets to pick who got first, which would be crazy. That might rotate. Maybe it's Omni gets to pick. It will let Omni even pick himself as first. Who knows? Who fucking
We'll give him the option, but it's really a moral test to see if he'll actually do it.
Exactly. If he names himself, he'll be summarily executed. Spoiler alert, if I'm picking it's me.
The gameplay ability system plugin mover update. I'll be back in a bit. All right, yeah, let us know how it is.
Yeah, no worries, Turning Cog.
Omni, spoiler alert, if I'm picking, it's me. I'm the Verstappen of Twitch chat.
You didn't spell that right, but yeah.
I know it's Verstappen, right?
Verstappen would be great so that he just stops winning. That would be amazing. I would love that. Yeah, I don't know, man. You hate that guy anyway? That's funny. I remember when you didn't hate him. You were like kind of pro Verstappen, but then as you learned more about F1, you were just like, man, fuck that guy. Omni, I'm not current. I'm probably like 6 or 7 races behind just because I've been watching other shit. And you know,
Jeremy G first chat.
Yo, what's up, brother? Welcome. Thanks for catching a stream.
Good to see you.
So we're still working on Dread. It's coming along. We did some major re-architecting of systems and stuff. So we got huge performance gains. We're setting up the end-to-end playthrough and all that stuff. That's the biggest goal that we're aiming at right now is end-to-end playthrough. Hopefully that happens within the next couple of days. You know, next week, something like that would be great. But then we start to fill in all the little pieces. We've got some of your musical things, sounds integrated into the project. So that's really cool. If you guys don't know Jeremy G. Viking, he's a member of the Brightside Girth Gang, a very skilled musician, producer, whatever you want to call yourself. Do you let me see if I can link your SoundCloud, bro. I'm pretty sure you sent it to me in a DM. But I don't have it available. If you're still around, send it to me a DM on Discord and I can post it in Twitch chat. We don't allow links otherwise, but I'll post it for you so that everyone can go follow you on SoundCloud or whatever your preferred platform is. But Jeremy G is dope. One of the guys doing the the music and audio stuff, you know, contributing to Dread. So give him a warm welcome, chat guys. Queen Anne, what's up? How you doing?
Yo, the gang's all here today.
Yeah, we got some gang in the gang. Yeah, so I wanted to. I'm kind of all over the place right now. There's a few things I wanted to talk about today. Since we got some peeps in here, let's start with talking about. Oh,
let's talk about how I upgraded my original Perforce project to 5.7 instead of making a copy, and now the level's not too dark.
What the fuck? Perfect, Tony.
Great.
Omni,
a better outcome, I guess. But
Omni, I was saying I'm not fully caught up, but I am aware of the current point standings because for whatever reason, places where like I consume current events, so like news and whatnot, they never report on F1, but they'll just be like, here's the news for what happened at last weekend's race, and they randomly do that shit. And I'm just like, man, what the fuck? You guys just spoiled a bunch of shit for no reason. I know it's a nail biter. I know that it's very, very, very close between Piastri, Norris, and Verstappen. And there's several reasons why, which I'm avoiding. Don't say any of the reasons. But yeah, there's a lot of reasons why. I want to go watch those races and see like the crazy shit that happened. But yeah, I know that there have been some fumbles by McLaren. There's been some conflict between Norris and Piastri, which, I mean, that happened last season too. It's hard because they're both amazing drivers and they both want to get first. I get it. It would be a first world championship for both of them, either one of those guys. I would rather see them win than see Verstappen get a fifth. I was also speculating with Sparkle Omni that I wonder if Horner got fired after the early part of this season where Red Bull wasn't doing well, because that's Horner's job, is to make sure that they compete at a very high level. And I bet that he had a little bit of a beef with Max. Max was like, because I remember around the time he got fired, there was an interview where they were asking him if, you know, what his thoughts were about being with Red Bull in the next season and if Red Bull was going to have a better car because they weren't doing very good this season. And he goes, I don't know where I'll be next season. Everything's up in the air. And I was like, oh shit. And everyone was like freaking out about that. So I'm like speculating. Obviously, this is just pure nonsense. It doesn't matter. But I was speculating that maybe he was beefing with Horner and he was like telling Red Bull management, like, get rid of this guy or I leave the team. I bet you that did it. Because he waded through so many controversies. He had multiple like bad behavior allegations last season, all kinds of crazy shit. Yo, that's cool, Jeremy. No worries, bro.
We're just talking about our creators before stream.
I mean, that's a good segue. I can get off of F1 because I know that there's like, it's me and Omni that like F1. That's it. Yeah, so I saw a tweet today that was the review on IGN for Tarkov came out. They gave it a 6 out of 10, which I'm not surprised by at all. But the tweet I saw was an experienced Tarkov player that found the reviewer who was like, he was using okay, so Tony, I don't know if you recognize this in the clip at all, but he was using an SKS, very basic one, not even a good one, top reload, one round at a time. He was using an SKS, no armor, no helmet, pockets full of meds, just some loose ammo.
Staring at a dude up on the ledge, not shooting at him. Dude walked right up to him with a knife. Like,
he was in the worst possible spot. Like that, I bet the heat map for that spot on customs is like thousands of deaths right here. So the dude was standing outside of Omni, you'll probably recognize this a little bit. It's outside of
clip up while you're talking.
Yeah, no worries. It's outside of Ruaf and outside of Sniper Checkpoint, right at that little concession shack at that three-way intersection before the construction area and customs. He's just sitting out back of that in the bushes, like with an SKS and no armor or anything. And he's just like slow creeping. And I'm like, what the fuck is this guy doing? The other player that kills him notices him, puts his gun away, pulls out his knife, and runs up to him and is like looking at him. It's, yeah, here, you can just watch. It's fucking funny. Like, this is the worst spot to possibly be in. Like, where this guy is hanging out is crazy. just over by these rocks. There's so much traffic that moves through here. You never want to be in that spot. So yeah, and then he runs up to him with the taiga. I mean, that's kind of a flex, honestly. That's a pretty rare melee weapon. But yeah, he's just running around him in circles. The dude's like trying to shoot him. He can't like keep his shit together. Doesn't know what's happening. He's just very pathetically running away. It's great. It's fucking great. This is the best part. He's clearly emptied his mag. And he's trying to leave, and he's like, oh, fuck, I can't. All right, might as well reload. Nope. Now you die. So fucking funny.
Is it actually the IGN reviewers gamer tag?
He showed the dog tag at the end of the clip.
Yeah, it was like Justin something.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's him. I don't know if that's true or not, but a lot of people in the comments were like, holy shit, you showed his dog tag. That's crazy.
Travis and Northrop. So, I don't know. Maybe not, but I think it was used
either
in
way,
insulting way anyways.
Either way, it's really funny. Yeah, and the guy on IGN who gave the review was talking about how he spent like over 100 hours playing Tarkov. So he's pretty good at it. And the funny thing to me about that is Tarkov is a game that you spend thousands of hours getting good at. So like over 100 hours is fucking nothing.
I've probably played 100 hours of Tarkov, and I'm terrible at Tarkov. Like,
yeah,
I haven't even come close to scraping the surface on Tarkov. Because, like, you know, there's resets, and there hasn't been PvE for that long and stuff. So even if that guy's been playing Tarkov as long as I have, 100 hours is not that long.
No, 100 hours is like enough to like learn one map and basic gameplay systems and shit. So yeah,
resounding reason to play Tarkov that we're giving people.
Yeah, I mean, this is the
good
thing.
part about Tarkov, in my opinion. So yeah.
I'm not trying to say, okay, Tarkov is a good game. It's a very poorly made game. I will say that. There's a lot of very good magic in there, and I think it's just the levels of complexity. I was trying to figure out a good metaphor talking to Tony. It's like, imagine you were unaware of the sport of American football, right? In the first game you see is an NFL game. And for whatever reason in this imaginary scenario, you were allowed to play in the NFL game for the first time when you were interested and you were like, I want to play. I've watched one game. You get in, you don't even know what role you're going to pick. You don't even know how you work on the team. You get fucking leveled. You have a miserable time and you're like, nah, I'm good. This game sucks. I don't ever want to play it again. That's kind of like the level of mastery that it takes to really get into Tarkov, I think. And that's what I like about Tarkov. When I started playing it, it was a struggle. It was very, very hard. First time I played it with some friends who knew how to play and had played a few times. And they were very toxic and awful and, you know, basically didn't help me learn anything about the game. So I set it down for like 6 months. And then I want to say I was a Bungie at the time. Yeah, I was a Bungie. At work, there were people who were like, dude, this game is fucking sick. It's really, really good. And I was like, really? It seemed jank as shit to me. I don't know. They're like, give it another chance. And so then I started to do a little bit of like online research and, you know, using the wiki and figuring out how to do things. And then I started playing a little bit of offline mode to learn how to do the maps and stuff like that. And then it started to click. As I got more knowledge of how to play the game, it became very rewarding to the gameplay experience. And I would also say that this is probably adjacent to the FromSoft games discussion around difficulty and whether it's an accessibility issue. I feel like Tarkov falls into that category too, because Tarkov is very challenging. It's not an easy game to pick up and play. It absolutely has really poorly designed UX and UI. Very true. I'll agree with that. There's no consistency of player agency or, interaction type. It's so bad. Like there's a ton of different ways to do things in the menus. The menus are not well put together. When they finally released with 1.0 a 3D interaction with the vendors, it's literally a brand new button with a new menu. It doesn't conform to any of the last 10 years of UX standards that they set. It's
still
fucking
talk to them
crazy.
the old way and do certain things, and that's the only way you can do those things. And then you have to talk to them the new way to do different things that are new. And you can't. It was definitely assumed that they would just take all the old stuff and put it in the new thing, and that's not what happened.
Queen Anne says, I feel that way about Lethal Company. It has a lot of magic to it, but I feel like it's not well made. 250 hours in it for reference. Not that it takes thousands of hours to get good at, mind you. Yeah, no, I totally agree.
Strikes me as a game where you probably have a lot of very unique experiences across like 250 hours. But,
yep.
Yeah.
I would also say the same thing about Souls games. You know, they're not a game you walk into and have a great time with off the rip. It's very challenging because the game's not teaching you anything about how to play it. You learn how to play it by playing it, which is a brilliant thing in video games. I think that's the coolest thing that video games
Dark
do.
Souls 3 by watching Fighting Cowboy play through the entire thing, and then I learned to like Tarkov, I think, by watching Pestily a lot. So, you know, that helps because some of these games are just so dense that it's hard to even understand what you're supposed to do. And it's nice to just watch somebody do it at a fairly proficient level so you can kind of have an idea of where you need to get to.
So I think bringing it back around because, you know, Jeremy G was saying difficulty has always driven me to play games more. As long as it's still fun through the challenge, you know, got all the achievements in Dark Souls games. Yeah. So for me, because I've put so much time into Tarkov and like it finally bit me and I understand it and like I get the appeal and the good time. There's a couple reasons why I would prefer Tarkov over Arc Raiders. I also want to clarify, I don't play PvP anymore. I pretty much only play PvE. But I don't feel the same level of depth in Arc Raiders when I played it as there is in Tarkov. The harsh corners are really rounded off. Much more approachable game. Way easier to get into as a brand new player. Totally agree with all that. I mean, there's a map, for fuck's sake. Like, there's no map in Tarkov. You just have to memorize the map, which is like a whole other set of challenge. You know, you literally just have to learn. The first couple times I played Tarkov, I would spend the first like 5 minutes of a match figuring out where the fuck I actually was. I would literally just be like, I have no idea where I am. And I would look for landmarks, have a map up on a second screen, and I'm just like, okay, I think I'm here. And then I would start moving towards a spot to get another landmark and kind of like triangulate my position. And then I'd eventually figure it out. I'd be like, okay, now I have to get out. Where the fuck do I get out? And then I would look at my exfils and like go through the list and then go plot a path. And then all I would try to do is get out. That's it. So I spent, you know, the first chunk of time just really trying to do that. And then I started to gain some map proficiency and understanding where I was, all the while learning how the guns worked and all that other stuff. I saw in the review, the guy was saying that the gun system is like inscrutable and you have to do a ton of research and none of it makes any sense. And to that, I say he doesn't know anything about real guns, because if you know anything about real guns, Tarkov's gun system makes sense because it's all based on real guns. So that's not as weird to me because I'm just like, I know shit about real guns. I know what ammo goes in this. I know what these kinds of ammos do. And that makes more sense to me. So as a video game, that's a tricky thing. You could almost say that's... No, I would say it's just a bad UX. Not necessarily a bad design because it's based on reality. There are other systems that support it. If you have no actual reference points and you're building something like that, you're like, these are all my arbitrary rules, but I'm not going to explain them to you. That's probably bad design. I'm trying to think of like a good abstraction for you guys. It would be like making a game that has a realistic day-night cycle based on Earth. But your sunrise and sunset isn't a 24-hour cycle. And your nighttime is yellow sky. That would feel really weird to a person who goes, wait a minute, this is very realistic. Why are these different here? I don't understand. But if you imagine every single detail is just off, you can never relate to it. And you never understand like what the fuck this is. So the point that I'm trying to make is the weapon and ammo system that exists in Tarkov is okay because it's based on real life. There's already a bunch of rules that already exist over there. So if the whole thing is contrived and made up by somebody, that's when it's too much and you need to like kind of explain and get in there. Yeah, Tony, I don't know if you heard it before you walked away, but the reviewer was saying that the weapons and ammo system was like this inscrutable mess that makes no sense and like it requires deep knowledge and you have to do tons of research. And I'm like, it's based on real guns. Like if you know anything about real guns, it's totally fine.
I mean, that was my experience trying to get into real guns, and learning real guns made me go like, oh, Tarkov actually is like really fucking accurate. Actually, it's awesome. So I don't know. It's cool.
So I would say it's not a bad design. I think it's a bad UX. It doesn't do a good job of teaching you things you need to know about different ammo types and cartridges and chambers and, you know, all that other shit in different magazines and like why that matters or what the different actions are on different firearms. It doesn't teach you any of that. And if it did teach you a little bit of that, maybe through missions you have to do, they kind of try to do it a little bit. Like there's a mission where you get like an AKM that shoots 7.62 by 39, which is a normal AK round, but it also comes with bullets that are 3.66 TKM, which is a larger caliber, bigger bullet that can still be put into those magazines, but the gun he gives you isn't chambered in that. So you have to like, if you put the wrong ammo in there, you can't fucking fire the gun and you don't know why. They sort of try to teach you that. If you read the quest text, it explains it, but that's it. I mean, like that's not, you need to be a little more heavy-handed with teaching your player those kinds of things if you want them to learn that. That being said, I still think it's fine that Tarkov chose to not, or that Battlestate chose to not introduce the player to their ammo systems because it is based on reality. You can literally just go Google like guns and ammo and all this other stuff, and then you'll learn about how it works in Tarkov. So that's cool. I'll get back over to the article, but I wanna catch up on what you guys were talking about. I learned Tarkov by playing with Vince. Yes. You have not learned Tarkov yet, Omni. This is a journey. You've learned that mountaineering sometimes involves wearing a backpack and hiking boots and walking up a hill. That's what you've learned so far.
I mean, I went in a part of a level when we were playing yesterday that, again, probably played that level 100 hours. Never been in that part of that level before. It was crazy.
In your defense, Tony, that's a relatively new expansion to that part.
Okay.
It was recently added in the last
it was just throwing me off. This is crazy. I've never been here before. So, yeah.
Queen Anne says Dota 2 is another culprit of being difficult to approach. Yes, dude. Dota 2 is fucking great. Dota 2 is a really good example of the thing that I'm talking about. People talk about how changing the fact. Sorry, I'm not reading this right. Back up a second. Dota 2 is another culprit of being difficult to approach. People talk about how changing that fact will dumb down the game, and maybe to an extent it would. But does memorizing neutral camp spawn timers improve the experience? Yes, absolutely. It's a level of mastery that you get. Like you learn this little thing, and that's good. I prefer game systems mastery over like what's a good example? Speedrunning community where you're like, I can do this, 3% probability frame perfect trick because I know how to exploit the game system. Like that's fucking stupid. That's way too deep. That doesn't make any sense. But if you can memorize timers, I mean, that shit worked in competitive Halo. Like I remember we would be like rockets spawn at this time and we would use like stopwatches and shit and then go over to, fight around different areas of the map based on controlling, power weapon spawns. That was all a thing. Learning spawn traps and all that shit too. Not all depth is created equal, and we see that with unenjoyable but really deep games. Yes. So here's the problem with Tarkov, or I guess the magic that they found. On its own, 8 years ago, Tarkov was a really bad game that had a lot of potential. As they spent 10 years iterating on it and building up more layers of complexity and all these different systems that support all of the other pieces, it has become this really good magical thing. So the first thing they hit was that really good loop of an extraction shooter, risking all your shit, being able to steal someone else's shit, get out, now it's all your shit. That feels amazing. The tension that creates has higher highs and lower lows than I've ever felt in any other game ever, period. So they nailed that piece. The other parts that were missing were like the different types of experiences you could have on different maps. I think Customs was the only map you could play on at first, and then they added Factory. So anyway, different types of maps you could play on. Progression pursuits. So that's where they added the hideout. They added your player's level, so it has like a Skyrim thing to it. So when you load and unload a gun, you're passively increasing a skill that helps you load and unload a gun. So the more you do it, the faster you get at it, the more accurate your character is at it. It's really good. All these little things build up to support a really positive experience. So even though you risk everything, there are permanent progression systems that help support you to go on your next run so you can continue to play. It might seem at the, as a new player that you get in there and you're like, well, all my shit's gone. I have nothing to do. I don't know what to do next. There's always something to do in Tarkov, and you can always get, a way out.
Yeah, there's usually like 17 things to do.
And then, if you lose all your shit, you can scav. You can go do a free low stakes run and get some shit. And the Arc Raiders equivalent is the free kit. That's the same as like a scav, because there's no limits on free kits in Arc Raiders. You can just kind of do that as much as you want. Yo, what's up, Shooty? It's good to see you, brother.
Yo.
Oh, we're gonna check out tonight. I was chatting with Artificial Sky yesterday. He wants to play the new Elden Ring Night Rain expansion, which I guess came out today. So we're gonna play some after stream. Dota V 152A 5v5, let's go. I don't even know, man. I'm not that deep on Dota. But I think to Queen Anne's point, I obviously appreciate when you guys agree with me, but to Queen Anne's point, MOBA is exactly the same kind of thing. Lots and lots of layers of complexity, and I wouldn't necessarily call MOBAs not very deep. I would say the knowledge is more broad. There are many, many different kinds of things you need to know, but you don't have, you can't be like a super specialist in certain areas. I don't know. I'm kind of arguing with myself here, because like if you only play ADC or if you only play, jungle, like you're going to have different specializations and mastery that you've learned playing those specific roles. But at any rate, depth matters a lot to me as a gamer. Depth also translates to challenge and mastery. Being able to get really good at something is extremely satisfying as a human being. So I think that's what video games do really, really, really well. In the real world, there's physical consequences for taking risk and becoming very skilled at something. Especially stuff that you can do in video games. Like you could learn the violin or the piano, but that's not going to appeal to everyone in the same way, right? Like sometimes you want to be like a cool action hero. You can't be a cool action hero in real life and get really good at that without serious risk to ending your run permanently, if you make a bad choice or get unlucky. So that's what's cool about video games, is you can have those kinds of experiences without physical risk. Jeremy G says, a Warcraft 3 custom lobby spam. Yes, I got you now. I got you, Artificial Sky. Yes, that is absolutely that was my experience with Dota back in the day, was Warcraft 3 custom lobbies. Jeremy G says, seems to me Tarkov has a large barrier to entry. As much as I want games I like to get huge success, sometimes I feel like the game I like would not improve my experience by appealing to the people who want it changed. Like it's good partially because of the crowd it drew in. Exactly. That's exactly true, Jeremy G. I've talked about that a lot on stream, just as a game designer and all of that. It's the core audience that carries, and having a broad audience appeal will make the core audience go away, and that core audience is actually who's supporting your game. It's very clear, based on what AAA has been doing for the last couple of years, that chasing the broadest audience possible does not work, and you'll get tourists, you'll sell some games, but it is not viable for a game as a service or a live service game. It will never work that way. You need a core that's going to stay there and support it. There were some articles that I've read on stream about, big data analytics for the games industry, which show that 20% of the audience of gamers, surveyed in these analytics firms, 20% are spending 80% of the revenue that the industry gains. So the core audience, people who are gamers that buy more than 2 games a year, because 2 was the average for like 60% of gamers or something like that in this survey. Nomenclature is a little weird because they were considering to qualify as a gamer, you have to play at least 1 hour a week of any game on any platform. So you could be a retiree that plays Candy Crush while you're taking a shit, and you qualify as a gamer in this survey. Not the same fucking thing at all as a person like us, you guys in chat who are playing games a lot of the time. Like, that's your main hobby. That's what you guys do. We're very different gamers. I don't even know how many games I buy a year. It's got to be like 6 to 20 for sure. There are some years that there's no games I want to buy. There are some years where I buy like 6 games in 1 month, and I'm like, fuck, dude, I can't play all these, but I really want to, and I'll eventually get to them and play them. But yeah, it is us. It is the people who are buying all these games, and it's our core hobby. We carry the industry, and you're absolutely right, Artificial Sky. The 80-20 rule again. It is fucking undefeated, man. It's crazy. But yeah, Jeremy G. So the point that I was trying to make is, like, you have to care about those people. You have to. You really got to understand, make a refined experience that you enjoy, that other people can enjoy. That's how Tarkov got there. They didn't suddenly have a good game. The game was really bad for like 4 or 5 years. And then it just started to all come together as they added in more and more stuff, more layers of complexity, more mastery, more maps, more weapons, more expression of gameplay style, more progression with the hideout, with the player XP and all that other shit. The vendors and it's just, they just made it more and more and more complicated, and that made the game more and more fun. I'll throw EVE Online out there as a game that I think a lot of people love to talk shit about and say is completely stupid and doesn't make any sense. Wildly successful game that is incredibly complicated, with a barrier of entry that's like a 3,000 meter vertical wall, which I would say Tarkov is exactly like that too. There's just, it's you either learn it or you never climb the cliff wall. That's it. Have you tried Arc Raiders? Yeah, absolutely. Jeremy G, the problem is that Arc Raiders makes me want to play Tarkov. The Tarkov is just so... Oh shit, we lost Tony? No, Tony! Did we lose stream? No, I'm still here. I think I'm still here. Yeah, I'm here. Okay, Tony just exploded. Tony will be right back. Anna, what's up? Okay, so I'll get back to Arc Raiders. The thing with Arc Raiders that is weird to me, so the biggest one is it's a third-person shooter with PvP. If there were no stakes, like I'm going to lose all my shit, that's fine. You can do a third-person shooter as long as I can respawn and just keep playing and whatever. Totally fine. Third-person extraction shooter is crazy. Yo, Anna with the tier 1. Thank you. Thank you for the resub. It's just really crazy to to allow people to. Oh, welcome back, Tony.
Thank you.
Are you good?
Yeah, I just crashed my computer with Unreal.
Ah, nice. Perfect. Yeah, the third-person shooter, like with competitive play, where like you have high stakes, meaning like you can lose all your shit. That really takes me out of it. But the second thing, you know, I could forgive that if it had like an aesthetic that I was really into. I'm not saying that the game is visually distasteful. I don't think it is at all. I think Arc Raiders is a very pretty game, and they did a lot of really cool shit, have a very defined art style. What I'm not into is the like Fallout like aesthetic of, you know, I got a fucking football that, you know, is 18 years old from the fall of civilization, and I chopped it in half, and now it's a helmet that I'm wearing on my head. Like, that's stupid as fuck to me. I'm not into that. So it's literally just personal taste. I'm not trying to say Arc Raiders is a bad game. Not in any way. It's a great game. Very good. But it makes me want to play Tarkov. Tarkov has real guns. You know, I get to LARP as a fucking high-speed operator and, you know, walk around John Wicking my way through a level. That's cool to me. I like it. I think it's really fun. But yeah, I think the PvE is really good in Arc Raiders. The PvP is not fun to me. I don't enjoy that. I think the time to kill is way too fast compared to the PvE stuff. Like, again, that's one of the things that makes Tarkov work so well, is you could be the scrubbiest scrub ever, but you take your time, you make good decisions, and you pop someone once right in the face, they will die, and you take all their shit, and then you get out. And that's very rewarding. You can't do that in Arc. You need a good gun first. There's also no way to tell if you're going to come up on someone that has like a level 3 shield, you know? So if I think back to my time with Marathon when I was playing that as well, it kind of had the same problem. There were shields. I'm talking about the first closed alpha, not the technical test. But there were shields that you could get if you got like the level 3, the blue shield. You didn't know until you started a fight with another player if they had a blue shield. And if you did, you already gave away your position. You just shot them. They can fucking destroy you. It's not fair. Like, you would lose. Unless you had a blue shield too, you would fucking lose. Unless you had a good team. You know, like, there's a lot of weird factors in there. But in Tarkov, you position well, you make a good choice, you pull the trigger at the right time, you'll win. And that's really, really cool to me. Okay. Sorry, I want to catch up again. Artificial Sky, Helldivers 2. Yes, we were going to talk about that a little bit, but with did you want to talk about, like, I thought this was kind of interesting. People have considered Helldivers 2 an extraction shooter, which I kind of agree with. I think it's like a very lightweight PvE extraction shooter. That's pure co-op, obviously. Which I think kind of I think that's like the right way to do a casual extraction shooter. If we want to put labels on shit. Helldivers 2 is a good game though. Artificial Sky, are you aware of the movie? Because we talked about that yesterday on stream. There's going to be a Helldivers movie directed by, is it Jeremy? Justin Lin. Is Jeremy Lin a basketball player? I don't even fucking know, dude. But yeah, so Justin Lin, I really don't like this terminology. Gary Dauberman, the scribe behind the It and Annabelle horror movies, wrote the script for Sony Pictures, PlayStation's Productions, whatever, blah, blah, blah project. Directed by Jeremy Lin, who did a bunch of other stuff that was successful in Hollywood business standards.
Fast and the Furious.
Fast and Furious, that was it. Yeah, the Fast franchise. Helldivers 2 in the vein of being another third-person shooter. Yeah. So I forgive, like, I think Helldivers 2 is totally fine being a third-person shooter because there's visual expression by each player. You can change your outfits. You want to share that with other people. You want to look at your own shit. Cool. All very good things. There's no PvP, like intentional PvP. It just doesn't exist in Helldivers, which is why I think it's fine. But if you're in a position where you might lose everything and have, you know, wasted your time playing the game because you didn't gain anything, no progression, whatever, and you lost it all to another player, who was fully in cover, but because of the third person camera, they could see over the shoulder and they could see you coming, and they just set an ambush for you and just took you out. That seems very unfair to me. If you're in first person and setting up an ambush, it's way harder to do. So that's why I kind of differentiate there. But yeah, I can get where aesthetic would be not your thing. The world of Ark drew you in. The atmosphere is next level. The sound design is off the charts. Definitely casual compared to Tarkov. Yeah, no, I agree with all of that. I'm in no way am I saying Ark Raiders is a bad game. It's not. It's just not a game that I prefer. If I'm going to play an extraction shooter, I'm going to play Tarkov.
I'd buy it for myself, and I'd buy Vince a copy if they made it PvE. But until then, I don't think I'm going to play it. Like, I really want to. I think it looks really interesting, but I don't know, I'd rather play Tarkov.
I'll even say this. I think the weapon design is really compelling. Okay, so if you think about it like this, you want the arcs to be very dangerous to all players. In any setting, at any time, the arcs are really dangerous. To do that, you can't let players do massive amounts of damage in a burst. You can't let them do that. So a good way to limit that is make all of the weapons single action. So they fire, you have to fucking recock it and then shoot again. That was really well done. And to balance that, they made it so that doing damage to a player, or like the player health pool, is just way smaller. So time to kill on players is very, very fast. Time to kill on arcs is very long. I think that's a really good design. I don't think it would work with fully automatic weapons in that game nearly as much. I know there are some. They're very, very powerful. So that was one of the balance checks they did for like power progression and whatnot. I think it works really well. Queen Anne says, also, if it were first person, they couldn't do the physics nonsense they love to do in Helldivers too. Yes. Yeah. I think Helldivers needs to be a third person game. It does really well at that.
I mean, it has first person mode and it looks really cool, but
it's so weird.
The game is very clearly meant to be a third person, but it looks very cinematic in first person. I will say that.
If Helldivers movie doesn't have the Vin Diesel gang chanting liberty, I'll be very disappointed. Dude, that'd be sick. Instead of family, they're like, it's about liberty. Yeah, that'd be very cool. What was the thing? Oh, okay. So this, we talked about it yesterday. The worry here, Shooty, is that Justin Lin has openly said, I am not a gamer and I don't play games and I've never played Helldivers. That makes me a good director for this IP. And people are like, what the fuck are you talking about? You don't understand the source material. How could you possibly be a good director? So we were going off about that yesterday, talking shit and getting, grumpy about it, saying like this has potential to just be another big failure. Hollywood keeps doing this with video game IPs, blah, blah, blah. Carrying that over to today. Oh, did I lose my article somewhere? I did. I lost it. Hold on. I got to find this again real quick for y'all. There it is. Carrying that over to today. What's this guy's name? Shams Yoryani. Shams Yoryani, the CEO of Arrowhead, responded to people criticizing Justin Lin, saying that he's not a gamer, by saying, let him cook, guys. He's good at what he does. Let him cook. He's going to do a good job. So here we go. Oh, no. But I mean, okay. So consider it this way. Shams needs to be positive about this because Shams has a vested interest in it. Shams is going to make money based on if the movie does well. Shams and Arrowhead will make more money for sure. So you can't say anything negative about it. He can't talk shit. This is potentially where we're seeing Shams like saying, being dishonest. And I don't mean like he's lying or anything, but he's saying things that he may not necessarily feel because he signed this deal. It would be insane for him to torpedo the effort of the movie. Like, it wouldn't make any sense. If he talks shit about Justin Lin, like, it would be working against his own best interest. So I don't think we're going to get anything real out of like Shams or Arrowhead in their actual thoughts about it until after it's come out and either done well or done poorly. Who knows? But yeah. CEO of Arrowhead has been under fire for other things he said recently. Yes, he has, Queen Anne. He's a little bit of a wild boy. Well, Scott did a Napoleon biopic and said history doesn't matter, so anything is possible. Yeah, Napoleon was so fucking weird. Did you watch that, Anna? I was trying to watch it and I was like, oh my god, this is so boring. I was like, Joaquin Phoenix normally can carry a film, but the performance he delivered for Bonaparte was so strange. He was so weird.
What's that? I remember it was probably good because he was in it, but I had never really heard. So.
Dude, he's like a whiny baby in it. He plays like an entitled, spoiled brat as Napoleon, the Emperor of France that conquered.
Isn't that kind of how Napoleon was, though?
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's what it focused on, was that Napoleon, not like the empire expansion.
The small man syndrome, rather than the empire. Yeah.
And it was really weird too. They did this like, I don't know how to describe it. I guess fringe kink type of stuff that he was into, and they like really highlighted that with him and his mistresses and stuff. It was very weird.
Huh.
So yeah, I did not enjoy Napoleon. It was way too long, really boring. It focused on weird shit. It was like it was like a drama, like a Hollywood drama.
This is a really hard departure, but it's making me think of it. Have you watched the Guillermo del Toro Frankenstein?
Yes.
I've heard good things.
I should give it another chance, but I was not really fucking with it. It was wacky. The visual imagery was great.
Interesting.
I was just immediately thinking like Nosferatu was kind of the same way. Like visual imagery was outstanding, but I think Nosferatu was just a lot more compelling.
Yeah.
Guillermo Frankenstein was a little weird, man. It had some like...
Okay.
It could just be me, being too far up my own ass to enjoy stuff. You know what I mean? Like it could have been okay.
But I mean, I feel like, we're Guillermo fans, and
yes,
they're pretty open-minded to his stuff. So, I figured you would have an opinion. I'll probably still watch it, but
it was too long, I think.
Okay.
There was like a lot of shit just going on for like no reason.
I mean, his work is not all hits for sure. There's definitely some weird ones in there, but.
Ooh, Artificial Sky. Tell me your thoughts, because I know you're a big Helldivers guy. He was saying the devs are tragically out of touch with Helldivers 2, and it's been a problem.
It's cool to see that I don't think we actually got to talking about this yesterday, but if you guys hadn't heard, they took the install size of the game down from 150 gigs or something like that down to like 40 gigs on PC. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was like 58 or something like that, but yeah.
But they had just talked about how it had been like that because of old spinning hard drives not being able to access files in a certain way fast enough for the game to run right. So they had to duplicate files in a bunch of places so they would be able to be accessed quicker.
Optimization tech, dude.
Yeah. But it just makes me go like, so did they just throw all that out the window now? Like, I kind of think that might actually be what the reality is. They just kind of said like, we're not going to support that anymore.
Yep.
So
tough luck, old hardware owners.
If you got a spinning hard drive in 2025, like,
yeah,
you should try to upgrade it. Like, that shouldn't be what you're gaming on. So
Jeremy's fuck spinny hard drives. Yeah,
I don't have a spinny hard drive in a single machine in my house right now, but hey, spinny hard drives have their place though. We 2 weeks ago on stream we're talking about how if you leave a SSD unpowered for like 2 years, the data on it will become corrupt and probably not work anymore. And
yeah, I think
your hard drive will basically never have that happen if you're nice to it and don't let it get like magnetized or anything.
I don't know if I have a hybrid in my desktop. I might still have a hybrid drive in my desktop. I've got like 5 hard drives in my desktop.
Yeah.
Yeah, and exactly.
Hot.
Wait, what's that, Tony?
I'm reading Queen Inns. It says people are saying Frankenstein didn't work for them because the monster was too hot. He wasn't monster for the audience to question if they should be rooting for him or not.
Okay. I see what you're saying, Queen Anne, because he's like shredded all the time and shirtless, and he's got a weird patchwork face, but he doesn't look ugly. Like the actor has like, a symmetrical like beauty standard face.
Nicholas
Hoult? I don't know. Oh my god.
No, Jacob Elordi.
Yeah. I mean, I could see that, Queen Anne. I think that's funny.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I don't know that
They didn't have that problem in Nosferatu.
but that's like the core story of Shelley's Frankenstein is that the monster's not the monster, it's the doctor. It's Dr. Frankenstein who's the monster. The monster just lives. Like, you know,
He didn't
he's
choose to be created. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And he's like, you know, super powerful, you know, and obviously an abomination, but he's just trying to live. Guillermo has a public and it's the monster thirsty lovers. Yeah. What were we watching? Cabinet of Curiosities recently, Tony, for like Dread research? Yeah.
I thought
That
it
shit
was
was
so good.
crazy.
That was so good. I
Yeah.
really, really enjoyed it. And that, again, that alien autopsy one, that's like one
That
of
was
the better,
sick.
like, single pieces of media that I've probably ever seen. So good.
So good.
So
Very,
fun.
very good. Do you remember what that episode was called? It was like Terror of the Stars or something like that.
I don't know. I'm going to look real quick.
That's really funny, Queen Anne. I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, I could see that. I mean, you're not. I guess you are supposed to like be afraid of the monster because of its horrific acts and like it's like cold, uncaring, you know, lack of humanity, right? But that's the point, is that it's trying to become human. It's trying to learn about humanity and like, you know, is this sort of like tortured existence thing. And you realize that the actual monster is Dr. Frankenstein, who created this thing. And he's a megalomaniac, and yeah, he's just fucking insane. And that guy's actually scary. That's like the core part of the story. That's the psychological horror in there. So the Helldivers 2 devs have been at war with what the community wants from the game. They're very much pushing their vision of the game and balance rather than pleasing the customers or working to make the game enjoyable to play. So that's a tricky position, Artificial Sky, only because I support a developer's original vision. But again, if we go back to the 80-20 rule and supporting the core, it seems like they just lost touch for what they thought they were making. And maybe they accidentally made the thing that was really good, and they really wanted to make something else, so they're pushing towards that original vision. It's too hard to know. Yeah, and I don't even know the size of their team. Like, maybe they got too big. But there's a lot on the line for Arrowhead right now. Helldivers 2 is really, really important to the success of that studio.
They're also making that game in a game engine from 2015 that has been deprecated by the developer.
Wait, say that again?
Helldivers was developed in Autodesk Stingray, which is
yeah.
a game engine that Autodesk does not even support anymore, and I don't think has since like 2018.
Yep.
You know, props to them though. I think that game is really good. It looks great.
Yeah, it is a good game.
Yeah.
There has to be resistance to that realization for it to work for me. If it's not something to wrestle with, there's no point. Yeah, that was kind of my feeling about Frankenstein. I feel like there was another Frankenstein I watched that I liked more, but I don't remember. I'm pretty sure after I watched Guillermo's Frankenstein, I watched like Abraham Lincoln Vampire Slayer, and I enjoyed that more. Which is an absurd movie.
Okay, it took me a minute. This episode's called The Autopsy.
The Autopsy. Okay, sick. Yeah, that shit's really good. If you guys haven't seen it, I will say Cabinet of Curiosities was hard for me to really enjoy because it is, some of the episodes are super fucked up. The one that got me the most was the paintings that made. So there's like a guy who's a painter. This is almost like King in Yellow type shit, now that I think about it. But there's a guy that's a painter, and he is in art school or communing with these other, you know, fine artists that do all these oil paintings and shit. And there's this like famous one who the imagery he creates is like demonic and evil and bad and like corrupting and all that. And the core tension of it is, does it actually look like that? Or does it just look like that to this character? Because we don't ever really know. And these like horrible images that he sees, like people eating each other and shit like that in all these paintings, he's like, this art needs to be suppressed. But no one else sees it the way he sees it. Everyone else sees it saying like this is the most beautiful painting I've ever seen. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, are you just jealous of this guy? And he's like, how do you not see that they're eating each other's faces? Like, this is horrible stuff that we shouldn't be putting out there. And it's very interesting. It starts
And he tries to like
real
befriend
life.
the guy and like
Yep.
kind of be like, what's the deal? And
the guy, like in private, is like, you know the secret. And he's like, you have to look at these images. You have to, you truly see my art. No one else does.
Yep.
And you're just like, oh, fuck, dude, what is this? No, this is crazy.
did you get through? I think it was right maybe after the autopsy one, but there's the one with the girl who like works at the bank with like those hot girls, and they're like not very nice to her because she's like
Christmas time
looking, and then she like, I can't remember what she does. It's kind of like
lotion.
some like substance type shit.
Yeah, it's a skin
basically.
cream.
She like becomes hot and like kills her husband and stuff. That one was pretty good too. Yeah.
So what I didn't like about that one is it was like too wacky. It was too like, the juxtaposition was too heavy. You know, it was like, yay, Christmas time, while she's like stabbing a guy in the fucking face. And I was just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
her husband was Guilfoyle from
yeah,
Silicon Valley, but he's like really into playing poker, and he's like a Wisconsin highway patrolman or something. I don't know. It worked really well for me.
I was gonna say that one. I was like, this isn't as good, because that was like right after the autopsy.
I think it was the next one. Yeah.
Okay. So Shooted, you're agreeing with me, saying that they accidentally made a Milsim shooter, and then they wanted it to become a Horde shooter, so they're pushing away from that original design where everyone loved it. And the problem is mostly that Arrowhead is constantly nerfing the fun out of the game. Okay, so they're trying to make it so that you can't have fun, wacky power expression, which was kind of the point of the game when it launched, I think. At least it was for me. Like, it was really cool to like throw airstrikes and like, just watch the napalm and shit like that. You're like, yeah, I'm doing stuff.
Yep. Stand a little too close to it, but you don't actually get hurt, so you're like, damn, that was badass.
Yeah, or you just ace yourself or your friends.
And
that's also fun.
Yep. That was the fun part about it. It's just like, it's so chaotic and it's really hard not to kill each other, but it's like, whatever.
Turning cog, that's me with every single one of these talks. I can't do it, dude.
Oh yeah, I
don't
can't.
know why.
I said it in the Discord the other day. Like, I want to build an AI that will like go through the Unreal talks and like distill them into useful information, because there's a ton of good stuff in there. When I do manage to sit through them, I always learn stuff. But like, the format is really tough, and they're generally very long. And I think the amount of information could probably be condensed down into like 15 minutes or something.
Yeah, they're always like a non-dramatic live reading of an engineering white paper, and you're just like, fuck, dude.
Like, they show cool shit, but like the amount of knowledge that you're gonna gain is gonna be like just this little thing, and then they're gonna talk about a bunch of stuff that doesn't benefit you at all, and then you get like another little thing, and there's good stuff in there. Don't get me wrong, but it's hard.
Yeah, I'm trying to say, like, a dramatic reading would be more interesting, because you'd be like, oh shit, what's he gonna say next? Oh, it does this. Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah. But instead, they're like, in version 3.65116-2 alpha, you used to be able to do this through the use of these checkboxes and script interfaces.
Like, I'm going to show you a diagram of memory up on this board.
Yeah, exactly.
How we optimized our game, and it's like, this is really cool, but like, I'm really bored.
Yeah, it's the driest way to talk about like video game technology, and it's like, guys, this is for entertainment.
I saw Turning Cog's list yesterday. I want to show my list to show that it's not as disgusting. That's why it fits right here. I don't even have to scroll. Show you all of them. That's all of them right there. There's definitely more than this, but this is all that the launcher knows about right now. His asset collection, though, definitely a lot more impressive than mine. I thought mine was pretty big, but...
Who's Tina? Tina tries her best to make it entertaining.
Whoever was talking on that Unreal thing.
Oh, is Tina the presenter?
Hostest.
The hostess with the mostest.
Adder says, "Are you talking about the Unreal streams? I can't make it through that." That's exactly what we're talking about. It's really important and cool information, and you could learn a lot from it, but it's so boring that it's like impossible. And there needs to be a better way, because there's probably like 15 minutes of information in that like 3-hour video.
Jeremy G, yes, exactly. In D&D, there's a concept called the rule of cool. Basically, let people do cool shit if it doesn't break the game. Seems like some of the devs, kind of like Arrowhead mentioned above, could use a bit of that. Yes, there's this really, I guess for me, frustrating thing that designers will do, game designers, where they're really invested in this mechanic and they don't think about what that feels like to the player. They don't consider how that manifests through the player experience. And they're just really in love with building this thing because they're like, I've been thinking about this thing for so long and I just want to build it and make it real and see how it goes. I get that. I totally get that. Like, it's, as human beings, we get obsessed with like building this type of thing, this image we have in our head. And building the thing is more important than why you would build it and who it's for. So I think that seeps in a lot. It's very difficult to combat that. Game design is very, very hard. You know, Adder may disagree with me because he's not a game designer necessarily as his main trade, which I would totally understand and support if you don't necessarily agree. I get that. I've been a designer for a while. I know how it works when you interact with artists and engineers, and you know, we can be very, very frustrating and irritating at times. I get that. So you might be like, nah, dude, game design is stupid, which I understand. I get why other disciplines think that. It does matter though, because like when you do it right, it's really fucking good, and it like carries everything. So, you know, I don't know. Visuals are incredibly important. Like, don't get me wrong, they're incredibly important. Engineering is incredibly important, but all those things have to come together. Everyone supports each other, you know. Rough edges make a good game great. Yes, Adder. Yes. I think you weren't here when I was talking about Tarkov, but that's how I started. You know, the stream was saying how there was an IGN review. They gave it a 6 out of 10. And the IGN reviewer was like, I put like 100 hours into this game, and I can say like it's really fun and I want to play more, but the game is bad. And because it's bad, you know, I can't recommend it higher than a 6. And I'm just like, the game isn't bad. The game is poorly made. And you didn't play enough of it to know how fucking good it is. By pushing the buttons you tried to.
It didn't specify like the engine version, so I wasn't sure if I needed to do something because I'm worried it's going to use like the cached version, which is not going to be the updated version. So I'm just going to delete the cache and maybe that'll do it.
Turning cog is just rage baiting you, bro. That is not a useful statement. Tony, just press the buttons you pressed.
I mean, it's probably technically a true statement. But... Are we getting new free shit? I haven't even looked yet. Let me check this guy out. Okay.
Queen Anne says, I would agree with that. There's this natural feeling devs have when a player finds a power spike, horror, fear, ego bruising. But it's so important to put that aside and realize the joy the player is feeling, and you should feel that too. Exactly, Queen Anne. I know you get it because I've played your very early looks at Endless U. I know you fucking get it. So, yeah. IGN reviews are a joke. Shame there's one of the last major they're one of the last major publications reviewing. Yeah, dude. IGN reviews are abysmal. And of course, like in the comments, you have Tarkov haters, no Tarkov stands, because Tarkov stands don't give a fuck about reviews. They're just playing Tarkov. And the Tarkov haters are like, oh man, all you guys are just on BSG's dick and like blah. And I'm like, nobody who plays Tarkov supports BSG. Everyone talks shit about BSG if they play Tarkov. It's fucking ridiculous. The fact that BF6 scored lower than COD Black Ops 7 is all you need to know about IGN reviews? Yeah, dude. Very real. I'm not rage baiting purposefully. No, I'm just fucking with you, Turning Cog. It's I've come to understand a little bit about your personality over these years, and yeah.
This is what I was looking for right here. That shit wasn't there. Now it is.
Yes, Adder. Metagame conversation drives me fucking crazy. I really hate it when people are like, oh, you have to be using this gun with this modification. Otherwise, like, you're not going to be competitive whatsoever. Like, dude, if you've designed a game that way and that's true, you fucked up. You need the fucking unevenness. You need the nails all sticking out. Like, shit's got to be a little wacky. It's more fun that way. But if you only have 6 nails sticking out of a board, that's not enough. You need like 50 nails all at weird intervals and heights so that players have a lot of different options to explore and experiment with. COD uses meta to sell skins. Pretty gross. Yeah. Yep. COD is in a weird spot.
Skins in COD?
I think what he's talking about is like some of the skins have actual advantages because of like visibility and shit, which he's not wrong about. That's very true in COD.
That's crazy.
So because I can sit through inside Unreal, I'm ahead of the rest of you. I'll take that win and share what matters when you need it. Exactly, Turning Cog. That's why I say you rage bait. I hope they bring COD out to pasture sooner rather than later. Adder, I think what they need to do is pause COD annual releases for like 5 years. Just let them sit, and they need to make a brand new flagship COD. It should be, you know, a contemporary modern warfare. It should be, you know, about world events again. I think that would be really cool. Really, really cool. It should be a realistic military shooter again. We don't need this Black Ops 7, you know, fucking jump 13 feet in the air and then wall kick off a flagpole to, you know, boost across a gap that's 40 feet long. And we don't need any of that shit. It's so stupid. What's that?
As Nicki Minaj.
Yes, as Nicki Minaj. Yeah. Or the Terminator.
Or Peter Griffin.
Peter Griffin, yes.
No, Peter Griffin is Fortnite.
Yeah,
That's not COD.
It's Seth Rogen from
oh, right. Yep.
the studio. Yeah.
Hit the bong gun.
Yep.
Shoot some people.
Okay, the bong gun is cool.
Bong
gun is cool. I'm down for that. But we don't need to get more wacky than bong gun.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. In the 3DS version of Majora's Mask, they took out the ability to keep your momentum when hopping across the lily pads. Everyone loved it in the original, but it was not the intention, so it was taken out. It was a huge moment of realization for me on the importance of these rough edges. Exactly, Queen Anne. Yes. Exactly.
Are you talking about the like Deku scrub parts in the? I guess that'd be like the first temple you do a lot of hopping around on water. I never knew that.
I never played Majora's Mask, so I wouldn't know. Queen Anne says yes, those.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I've probably played Majora's Mask 5 times and played Ocarina of Time 500 times, but yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't hit the same for me. I don't like the timer. It stresses me out.
Yeah. Yeah, Adder, what if the new COD was in Ukraine? And you play as like a member of the Ukrainian militia or some shit like that. Like you're just vibing in Kyiv, and then fucking MiGs fly overhead and like bomb the shit out of stuff, and then you have to like, you know, link up with the military and become like you know, you interact with like some Western operators that are, you know, in country doing a bunch of crazy shit, and like you become like a soldier and you're fighting for Ukraine's independence. That would be cool. That would be like COD returning to what COD was all about, right?
There'd be entire missions where you're just like flying drones.
Yeah, literally, dude. Yeah, I mean that's the face of like
or shooting them out of the sky with a shotgun while you're on the back of an ATV or something. Like,
dude,
I mean,
there's so much meat there. Yeah, if you think
it's
about
real, like there's a lot of source for them to look at now. Like, yep.
If you think about Modern Warfare and what made it great with the AC-130 gunship missions, because that was mind-blowing at the time. You're like, oh shit, these are real?
Yep.
You would have the same moment with drone warfare. Like, it would be really fucking cool. Yeah, they have infinite sources of combat footage. Yep, exactly. Lean into the Tarkov hype and all the insane stuff going on in Eastern Europe. Yeah, dude. Yeah. I mean, Adder, why don't they just pay me, bro? I'll fucking give them all these good ideas, and you know, stop paying some MBA to look at a focus group and, you know, get all this data from an analytics firm and build a spreadsheet and say this is the game you should make. Just fucking ask me. It's because I left. They fucked up. Yo, real. Yeah, very real. Absolutely, Adder. They should have paid you, bro. I mean, you're on to bigger and better things, man. I would arguably say you're making an impact in the industry now. If you were still at ATV, you're not gonna make an impact, bro. You're just you know, you're one piece of the machine, right? Kotick was just boofing cash. Yeah, dude. Imagine that's your addiction. Be like what was that Chappelle Cribs episode where he was like, I put diamonds in my fucking cereal. Makes my doo-doo twinkle, baby. Yeah.
So good.
Got dinosaur egg omelet. He like cracks it. There's a little baby raptor inside. This shit was so funny.
Like, how gangster is that shit?
So good. So fucking funny. Me and my dumbass homies are the focus group. I mean, no, unfortunately, Turning Cog, the real people that do focus groups are people who don't actually do any of the thing that they're signing up for a focus group for. They're signing up because they get $50 and a muffin. That's why. You never wanted to be a cog? I don't believe that, dude. You named yourself Turning Cog. You didn't want to be a cog anymore? Yeah. I think that's like one of the most sobering things about working in AAA is you realize how insignificant each individual person is. There are some people at, certain levels of leadership that have a very big impact, but the risk of them doing something crazy and making something good is so high that they can't do it because there's millions of dollars on the line and they have, a bunch of peer pressure from their, other leadership peers that are like, dude, you fuck this up and I don't get my fucking new house or my boat. Like, it's your fucking ass, Yo, what's up, Sushi Fu? I'm just ranting about game executives, I guess. We were talking about COD and Tarkov. We had 14 lighters and 16 VFX artists at one studio of 3 working on COD World War II. Yeah, so that's 30 people just working on one small part of a huge game, right? You've got thousands of people all working on the same thing. And like your job is important, but at the same time, there's like an understanding at a certain level that unless you are the creative director or something like that, or you're at a very high level within the org, your impact is meaningless. I've never had a good time with the BMA types at studios, namely execs. Did you mean NBA types? Yes, exactly. Yes, that's why I talk shit about the NBAs, dude. They don't fucking know games, man. They're like, I know business. Look at this spreadsheet. Here's what we should make. And it's just like, dude, you're fucking stupid. That's not what you should make. How's everyone feeling about the horses situation with the bans? Are you talking about the game? Because we talked about that. I don't think we talked about it on stream, but Tony and I talked about it off stream. Okay. Here's the thing for me. Let's relate it to film, because I think that was the best example I could give. It's important that a Serbian film exists. I don't think it's good for people to watch a Serbian film. So it's important that horses exists. I don't think it's good for people to play horses. I kind of said the same thing about Schedule 1, right? I find myself in like a really shitty position where I'm like, it's important to allow art to be unconstrained so that you can make everything within art, because art is truly just human expression. It has no intrinsic value otherwise. But at the same time, I feel like it's really important to be careful about the things we choose to make, because the cultural impact can be significant. It can do real harm. So yeah, it's really tricky. I don't have a solid answer on that. Like I don't feel like I can come down hard on one side or the other and be like, yeah, horses should be banned. It's hard for me. Brightside, you should Google it real quick. But there's a game called Horses that's a psychological horror game, came out a couple of years ago. It just caught a ban on Epic and Steam.
I don't think it came out a couple of years ago. I think it's just launching.
Oh, I thought it came out a couple of years ago. It like released like 2 years
ago.
It was
like early access or something. Yeah.
The reason why it went into the news is because they just caught a ban. They were initially like approved. Yeah, no, Tony, they did. They released a couple of years ago. They had an issue with Steam. They reported their issue to Steam with how like the game was appearing or something like that, or like they weren't getting a revenue cut they were promised. So then when the Steam team reviewed it, they were like, "Yo, you can't even make this game, banned." Oh, it was the scene with one of the horses riding on the shoulders of another horse. That was it exactly. And they were like, this one horse appears to be too young and we don't want that to be in there. And so like, okay, we removed the young horse and put an older horse into the game so that no one appears to be under the horse age of 18. I'm being intentionally obscure here, guys, because I don't know how much I can actually talk about on stream with specific language. But yeah, it's a psychological horror game, Brett said. What's up, Mocap? Oh, sorry. You were saying hi to Turning Cog. My bad. Okay. I want to catch up. It was clear I was just pushing buttons, clock in, clock out. It was something like 2,200 devs on that product over its life. Adder, that was my problem at Bungie. I refuse to be a push button, clock in, clock out, work my 9 to 5 type of a person, especially in games. So I always did stuff bigger than my station, if that makes sense. And there were people who didn't like that I did that because they'd be like, hey, I don't think you should do this because it's out of scope and you don't have resources for it or whatever. And I'd be like, okay. And I would just ignore it and go do what I was fucking doing anyway. Because of that, I made really good shit in Destiny. But I didn't make really good coworker relationships, especially with leadership. So that's how it goes. The slope is for a slide mechanic. Did you see that, Tony?
Oh, I didn't see how to slide. Let me see. Controls is here. Slide C while sprinting. Okay.
All right. Sushi
It
says
does feel a lot better than it did before, I will say.
This is new gas.
This is gameplay animation sample. Gas is the gameplay ability system, which is very confusing.
I got you. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, this is trying to be new ALS, and the first version of it that they put out, I didn't think felt very good, which is why we're still using ALS. And I would like to not use ALS, but this is feeling closer.
Also, most of you guys
I'm
already
not gonna
understand.
blow ALS out of the water in the middle of Dread or anything, but like moving forward, I would like to not have to use it on new projects.
But also, a lot of you guys already understand this, but ALS does not refer to the Ice Bucket Challenge in Unreal. It's the Advanced Locomotion System. It's a character controller.
I am not sliding. I thought it said to hit C while I was sprinting.
I want to read what Sushi Fu was saying. I was an art director for a studio, and the way the execs wanted to go about making games was so nonsensical and utterly freaking crazy. Yeah, dude. I strongly feel that. I'm sure that, all of us in chat who've worked in AAA know exactly what you mean. And it's very clear why AAA is fucking fumbling. Like, it's very clear. We've been there. We watched these guys, and now they're fucking harvesting their failure. It's crazy. Does it qualify as art if only the maker ever experiences it? I think so, Jeremy G. I mean, there's plenty of people who make art that don't find commercial success until like after they're dead, and it's been 100 years later, and then people go like, wait a minute, this shit is crazy, this is really good. Like there's throughout human history plenty of artists who are ahead of their time, and they just weren't in the right cultural moment for their art to be understood or enjoyed. But I don't think that's the point of art. You don't have to make art that everyone enjoys. It's art. Like, it exists for its own sake. So that's why I say I'm very conflicted. Ambivalent would be a really good word for it, about whether or not horses should be banned. I think it's important that it exists. I don't think it's good for people to play. I mean, you could almost argue that like Squirrel Stapler maybe isn't good for people to play either. Oh, I don't know what this is, but I'm going to allow it because I trust you, Adder.
He said hand job, that's fine.
He said hand job. Yeah, he did. Okay.
Congratulations on being the first person to say hand job in our chat.
There's no shot that's the first person to say that.
I mean,
Automod just forgets that we tell it it's okay to say certain things. We were just in the you Mocap, you were over there with Turning Cog in there. Nice. I think the ban on horses was definitely censorship. Not that it's a fun experience, but that all smelled like putting blinders on to avoid facing reality, which definitely plays directly into the hand of the devs. So the ban is kind of a win. Absolutely. Yeah, the people didn't know about horses until they got banned, and now people are like, well, fuck that, I want to go buy it now.
Much free advertising. It's insane. Yep. This slide thing doesn't work for me, guys. I don't get it.
Speaking of Destiny, said Sushi Fu, I was friends with Nate Haubacher years ago, right before he joined. He's now the graphics director there. I know Nate. Yep. Tried reaching out to him a bit ago, and well, we never actually met to catch up. Not because of me. I now hold a grudge. I never really interacted with Nate. But, you know, I'm a designer, so like art and design didn't collab super well at Bungie. It was usually, at least in my lane, it was like environment art would be who I would talk to. Sometimes lighting, but yeah. And I think Nate did like GPU graphics stuff. Does Nate have a Lambo? Do you know? I know this is a weird question, but that's how I would have remembered who Nate is. I'm pretty sure Nate has a Lambo, like a lime green Huracan. I don't know if you know that, Sushi Fu. I know people buy their cars because I like cars. I'm not like trying to throw shade and be like, yo, this guy's a Lamborghini. No, it's more like that's sick as fuck. I wish I had a lime green Lambo.
Okay, I figured it out. I had to change the character in the game mode. This one feels even better. I might have just been fucking around with the existing system that I didn't like before, but this one feels pretty good. The one thing that ALS does that I wish this one would do is like this one will look over there, but then if I go like this, it doesn't turn. ALS will turn after a second.
Yes,
I can make it do that though.
Queen Anne, you're totally right on that. Not aware of what's in the game, but I think it's got to be negative to interact with. Yeah, I think because it is a horror game and the setting of the game. I can say this so you guys know what I mean, because I was talking about horses a lot. The horses are people in horse masks, and they're in very horrible situations.
And they got their dicks out.
Yeah. Like they're dehumanized and exploited and all kinds of like really horrible shit. And the main character, the player character, doesn't know this. They think they're going to like go work on a ranch, and it ends up being like this really fucked up situation with all these like people that are captured and in servitude and shit like that. So the controversy was over one of the horses being an adult horse and one of the horses being an adolescent horse, all of which were unclothed or something like that. Yeah. And so they had an issue with something that was like, you can't have one that appears to be of this age. So the dev was like, we changed it, and they were like, okay, cool. And they never responded to the request. They put it up, and then they were like, hey, are we still good here? And I guess a while later, they were like, nah, you're banned. You can't have this in here at all. So yeah, censorship, just like Adder was saying. Let's see. I think there are things that are not art, but if something has the potential to be art, that alone makes it art. Queen Anne, the thing that I always tried to index on for like whether or not something is art is, does it exist for its own sake? And what I mean is, if something exists to push a message, and that's like very clear, and everyone agrees about the message, like if it's like, eat cookies, and that's the message, and like the art says eat cookies, and like everything in it supports eating cookies, and that's the whole thing, that's not art, right? Like that's I guess it could qualify as propaganda because it has a specific agenda. But art, so like if you think of a sculpture and there's a lot of implicit meaning in the sculpture, and each person interprets that meaning differently in a very subjective and personal way, that's when it is art, right? Queen Anne, it's about a 20-year-old. Oh, yeah, here we go. All right, cool. You're explaining it, Adder. I appreciate that. I won't read the whole thing out loud just in case. I don't know what I can say on stream. Yes, exactly. Human rights violations and stuff like that. Yeah, for sure. That's exactly what the game is about. Can I be the second? What do you want to be the second of, Mega Mocap?
Second person to say hand job.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, go for it. None of the rest would dare say shake hands with beef. I mean, isn't that is that a Primus reference? Yeah, it's censorship, plain and simple. That's why I was saying, a Serbian film is art, right? But I don't know that we need it, because it doesn't do anything good for people who watch it, right? It's like horrifying and shocking and like really bad, and it's a metaphor for a political situation. I don't know. It's weird. It's very difficult. Farts are an art form. I don't know, bro. Those have a purpose. It's like digestive waste gas that you have to expel, right? Otherwise, you could die. Artificial sky, of course you love Serbian film, dude. No one is shocked by that.
Yep.
Propaganda is not art. That's a good point. That's always the one that sticks for me, because you could debate that propaganda is art. Like, honestly, I think you could. But like labels,
like greatest art ever made, probably kind of ended up being propaganda.
Yep.
Whether the artist intended for it to or not.
Yep. Marketing is a really good example. Marketing is not art. Not at all. It's intended to make someone buy something. All that tank animation is procedural. Did you see that from Turning Cog?
Yeah, that shit's crazy. I would really like to learn how to do, like, I would think that's more like IK almost, but I guess it is procedural, and that I could tell it like had targets that I was trying to work towards that I guess I would kind of use the IK to get to. But yeah, it'd be fun. One of these days.
You guys are silly geese. I'm just catching up on these other messages. Okay, Adder, I will say this. Farts on their own are not funny, but a fart at the right time is fucking hilarious. Like, I always remember there's a doorbell cam video that I saw on like Fail Army or something like that, and there's like a lady, like trimming a bush or something like that. She's like doing some gardening in the front yard, and the husband comes by and pokes her in the butt, and when he pokes her butt, she farts, and it's so fucking funny. It's so funny. They both like fall on the ground laughing super hard because she got surprised. She didn't expect a butt cheek poke when she was bent over, and it is just so fucking funny. Agree to disagree, they're always funny. I'm saying that they're funny in the right situation, but if it's just fart, I don't know, I think it's gross. But again, that's just me. Like, it's a human thing. We all do it. We have to. I choose to let them brighten my day every time. Bro, Adder. Adder's over there smelling his own farts. And what's the Tropic Thunder quote? you was laughing at your own fart bubbles in the bathtub. I think that's what Robert Downey Jr. says to Ben Stiller. When Ben Stiller's talking about his Simple Jack performance. Yeah, you went all in. You wrote for Nickelodeon and they put a bunch of fart jokes in your material and you were not laughing. That's a funny story. See, that's where good timing with a fart joke is funny. Just in your anecdote. That's fucking funny. Farts with reverb? Shooty, I bet you got some fucking bangers that like rattle the walls, brother.
Dang.
I'm a control rig king. If anyone needs to know how to do something. That's awesome. Thank you, Mocap.
I would definitely take you up on that one of these days. I really try to stay away from animating and skeletons as much as possible, but it's unavoidable at a point.
Yeah, I like the art debate you guys are having right now. It's interesting. It's just an interesting thing to think about, right? I think if your goal is to be proven correct, you're missing the point. Like, but it's fine to discuss it, right? Like, and be like, I don't know, this could be art, this could not be art. Yeah, I think that's cool. I like the Oscar Wilde quote, all art is quite useless. Yeah. Anything that elicits an emotional response can be considered art. I agree with that. But at the same time, marketing and propaganda can do the same thing. But I wouldn't consider those art because they have a very explicit goal. If you use a lighter, they will sure brighten your day. That's true. Yo, I remember doing that stuff as a kid, like teenager. That was when Jackass was getting its rise because of CKY. I remember lots of youth shenanigans during those times in the 90s.
I always look back and laugh because it's like I watched Jackass and I'm pretty sure me and my friends went outside and started jumping off roofs. Just like immediately.
Yep. Jeremy G says, seems like the only ethical way to censor like that is to retroactively do it as opposed to proactively. Ban it after it makes people actually do bad stuff. It's hard to determine when that's valid, though. I mean, if we're talking about that, I think social media is like a really clear example. Nobody knew how bad it was going to be for people, but it is very clear that social media is really bad. But because it's already out there and it's like this economic powerhouse, I don't think anyone's going to ban it. The amount of money that they have to spend to keep their shit alive is, you know, it hit critical mass and it's outpaced the ability to legislate it and like really shut it down. It's going to take a lot of people being like, no, we're doing the right thing and we're going to fucking ban this shit. Like, I think EU instating some rules about like kids on the internet and using social media. I kind of remember reading something about that.
I think you have to be like 16 or 18.
Yeah. Yes. Thank fucking God. That's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys have heard me say a bunch of conflicting shit on that. I'm all for freedom of speech and like, you know, the Bill of Rights and shit like that as an American. But there are some things that are just really, really bad for people that we don't know enough about. And I think human psychology is one of those things. We need to be really, really careful with it. I think technology and AI is probably one of those other things as well that we need to be really careful with. But it's all moving at such a pace that, you know, these are all information-based things. And that information is, you can't really stop it because we're all connected now. You know, as Kurzweil said, the singularity is near. I have this like kind of weird theory that I think with the advent of the singularity, if we gain collective consciousness and we can all share each other's thoughts and perspectives, then it would potentially make the world a better place. Like humanity would be more kind to each other. But you have to consider Aldous Huxley's Brave New World idea, where there will be people who have bought into that and are connected, and there are people who are not, and they will be left behind. You'll have this schism in society where there, as Aldous Huxley put it, the savages that don't live in the utopia, and then the people who live in the utopia, who are all genetically engineered to be predisposed to work a certain job. They have no choice and they just sort of exist. They're almost machines instead of human beings with freedom and will and a desire to live how they want to live, right? So, yeah. Social media is the new prohibition. Bro, don't say that. I mean, like, alcohol is bad, but prohibition obviously didn't work. I'm seeing more of a fart debate instead of an art debate. Yeah, that's fair, mocap. I'm still stuck on art, and you guys have moved on to farts. I once made the mistake of watching Tropic Thunder at work. I got nothing done, and everyone was staring at me whenever I'd sob laughing in my pod area. Your dad almost lit your cabin on fire, lighting his own farts? Amazing at her, dude. Some of the art styles propaganda makes use of were once wonderful art. Yes, Turning Cog. I think art does become propaganda at a certain point. We can even argue that with video games. There are video games that have become propaganda that are not art, and they don't exist for their own sake, right? His shorts caught on fire. He had to jump off the balcony into the snow. That's hilarious, dude. They put an age requirement on social media. Good. It's strange. A receipt you grab from a cashier out of muscle memory and throw it out on the way past the garbage can. That's not art, but a video of all that happening, that's suddenly art. Yeah, I like that, Queen Anne. Thank you for not being on farts and being on arts. The problem is that linking your ID to the internet presence is really problematic. Totally agree, mocap. Totally agree. Government lists are bad. A lot of that stuff is stored by third-party independent companies that might not have the best security. Yep. Totally agree. The unenlightened masses, they cannot make the judgment call. Give up free will whenever the voices won't be heard at all. Are you quoting something, or are you just being poetic, Shooty? Because that was pretty good. Almost a haiku, dude. I do strongly agree with this. ID requirement internet use is a hard no for me. I would rather just not interact with said content. Yes, as an adult adder, strong agreement. We have to protect children, man. Like, this is the thing that like fucked me up. I was thinking about it, like, when did like the West decide that we needed child labor laws?
In the
1938. Holy fuck. that was not long enough ago. All right, so less than 100 years ago we decided we shouldn't exploit children to do work. I think that this falls into the same vein. Like, we realize that, but technology and society like progressed to a point where now, you know, I remember back in my day, kids were very, very well protected. Like, you know, you couldn't go see rated R movies and shit like that. And I'm not saying that's necessarily a good thing. It's difficult because, like, we need to protect kids and allow them to be kids for the longest amount of time possible because it's good for your development. But the world is full of teeth and violence and bad shit, and sheltering children from all the bad shit for too long creates shitty adults. So I think that's why we've got some weird generations going on. You know, like boomers as parents were overprotective of children. Zoomers' parents are not protective enough of their children. So Zoomers are all fucking cooked, but like grew up really fast, didn't have a chance to be a kid because they're just out on the internet, you know, being exposed to reality from like age 6. It's not a good thing. So like, how do we continue to protect the children but not overprotect them? It's complicated. It's constant work, right? Collective consciousness lyrics. Okay, I got you. Nice. Yeah, that's good stuff. You're referencing Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, right? I can't spell fart without art. Absolutely. Case closed. I will not be linking any IDs online. That's a hard no for me. I agree, Queen Anne. You know, I come from a position of privilege being an adult to be like, we should not let the kids on the internet because I want all my freedoms for me, right?
They rolled out that age verification thing in Europe, and people were putting the Skibbity toilet guy into the picture, and it was working. So just keep that one in your back pocket if they ever do that.
The coal mines were rough. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like 10-year-olds working a coal mine and not getting paid because they were
manufacturing plant, get your fingers cut off and stuff.
The children yearn for the mines.
I love that meme paired with an image of Minecraft.
Yep. Greedy businessmen realized that a small child in the mines meant less labor required digging smaller holes. Crazy it took that to get labor laws. Yeah, it is crazy. And I think that's the thing that I'm trying to say is like, you know, there's this constant pendulum swing between generations, and we like do good and then it's too much good and it becomes bad. So we pare it back and then we get all the bad back that we fought to stop. And then the swing happens the other direction. So we just, yeah, it's hard being a human. That's the human condition. That's why I like making games. I like to try to, you know, influence culture in a positive way and have people think about things. You know, that's what worked for me growing up, was like consuming media, entertainment media, you know, stories and stuff like that. And it taught me, like, I was like, oh, these are cool things. I like the way, you know, being a good person manifests instead of doing something shitty. And like, you know, a story with morals is, I think, important. Your human condition is buff? Do you mean like nude, or do you mean like strong? Because it could go either way, right? The human condition is an interesting being dummy thick. Nice, dude. Yeah, the human condition is like a weird one because we're animals. We are very obviously animals, but we cross a certain threshold of self-awareness and intelligence to like be something different, but we're the only form of life that we know about that has this, so we can't relate to any of the other forms of life that exist in nature around us. And I think it's also important to remember that like pre-industrial revolution and, you know, before the advent of the firearm, nature was winning. It was fucking destroying the shit out of human beings. And then because we had machines and technology and weapons, we finally started to beat nature and like create civilizations that lasted for a long period of time that weren't as vulnerable. So again, it's that pendulum, right? Like we've got progress for the human species versus coexistence with the natural world, and that's always a part of the human condition. But at the end of the day, we live short, fleeting lives, and most of us are insignificant anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Our significance is largely based on human society, which is irrelevant in the scope of the greater cosmos, which is uncaring and cold and has no will. It's just, it is. And we are a part of it. Strong make good, weak make weak, make bad make strong make good. Exactly, Artificial Sky. Yeah. After Inside Unreal, it kills my energy to do dev or art afterwards, so that's my cost of sitting through the fucking show. I mean, hang out with us, dude. Lose some brain cells. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I feel like this is more intellectually engaging talking about all this stuff than sitting through like a tech talk, right? Industry was a game changer. Mechanized farming was huge. Yeah, man. And medicine. So like medicine, industrialization, and the firearm, and then the internal combustion engine, those things dramatically changed how human beings live their lives. And our lifespans like doubled and tripled in some cases, which created a slew of other problems because we are still monkeys. Like, I'm aware that we are apes. I'm being, ridiculous in saying that. But yeah, I'm trying to be hyperbolic and say that, we're barely sentient apes. And that's the human condition. That's the problem. I like it, but I get too much anxiety about all the new systems to learn. Yeah, it's always like that. We will devour this planet. Whether we make it off before we do or not is the question. That's why I've always been really into space. I grew up watching Star Trek and shit like that, and I understood the importance. Listening to Carl Sagan talking about, despite the fact that we've like beaten nature on this planet in some regards, we're still, subject to the whims of natural disaster. Tornadoes and hurricanes and earthquakes and floods and all that shit and fires. Like we can't beat those. We've not beaten them yet, but we've beaten large predators. Like bears aren't just eating motherfuckers all the time anymore. Wolves aren't roving the countryside, just annihilating, farmsteads. Go fight a raccoon? Nah, dude. I mean, I could win against a raccoon, but I'm not going to use my bare hands. I've got tools that will make me succeed. But I'm also not going to fight a raccoon. Like, the raccoon's just being a raccoon. He's not me with, like, higher brain function going, like, he's eating fucking dog food, dude. I'm not out here, like, stealing dog food off of someone's porch. That's not his fault. He's cool. I'm glad I'm getting you with that one, Tony.
Just imagine Vince with a little raccoon paws.
Sneaking around, like scooping up.
I love they get the dog food and then they like are trying to carry it, so they gotta walk on their back legs and they look all stupid. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Great.
That's funny. I was at the bank. This is like a couple of months ago. I was at the bank like pretty early in the morning, just making a withdrawal, whatever. I had to like pay some bills or something. And across from my bank is a garage, like a mechanic shop. And I like kind of hear a bit of a ruckus, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I see the garage door open halfway, and there's two mechanics with brooms and like the chubbiest raccoon I've ever seen. And they're like, dude, get out of here. They're like gently pushing him away. And he's like looking at him, like backing up, like, what the fuck? And then he's like trying to grab the broom, and they're like, don't grab the broom. And they're like, just nudge him out the door. They shut the door, and he just stares at the door for a minute. And then he like looks around, and then he just like walks away, goes around the side of the building. And I'm like, that poor little guy, he was probably like warm and comfy in that garage. And I don't even know how he got in there, but it was a very funny experience. There'd be tears in your eyes, Mocap? They are cute, but raccoons are pretty dangerous, and they're not your friend. Just saying, they're not your friend. We are jumped up monkeys who think we're hot shit, but get bodied by minor inconvenience. Exactly. I mean, you could get a pet raccoon now, but like because of how they survive and they eat trash and stuff, they're lousy with parasites, man. They have a lot of disease. Not true of possums. People often think possums are the same. They're really not. Possums are chill.
Keep the tick population under control, don't they? Like eliminate
Lyme
disease.
Yep. Yeah. Possums eat all the really bad parasites and they kill them, which is great. But like raccoons eat anything. They're gross. They're nasty little creatures. I think they're very cute, but you know, I'm not trying to be friends with raccoons. I think they're really funny and I like interacting with them. I've definitely yelled at some raccoons before. They're like, hey, get the fuck out of here. And they're like, meh. Start making noises back at me. And I'm like, no, bro, get out of here. Bright side, I was legit thinking about that in the shower this morning about how dogs got domesticated. And I think it's really interesting how, like, dogs compared to other canids are heavily driven by food motivation. And that's probably because we, like, conditioned them over generations and generations and generations of different dog breeds to respond to food as stimulus, because that was how we related to dogs. So I wonder if other canids are driven as much by like food as a behavioral motivator. I assume that they are. I don't know. Because like, you know, wolves and coyotes and shit like that, definitely like it's nature's hard and they have to eat. But I don't know if their behaviors are the same. Maybe they're just predisposed that way. Who knows? Tears in my eyes and rabies in my bloodstream. Yeah, dude. Maybe all raccoons need is more head pets. Please don't pet raccoons, guys. They don't want you to pet them. They will bite you and you will become, you know, rabid. You have to get 11 shots in your abdomen to get rid of rabies. And if you don't, you die.
And they have to cut the head off the thing that bit you.
Yep.
Have to.
Yep. Because it makes them hyper aggressive and the rabies virus moves into their saliva. So it's like all in their mouth.
Well, and the only way for them to verify whether or not it had rabies, which they have to do when you get a rabies shot, is that they have to do a brain autopsy on whatever that thing is. It's the only way to know definitively. So they have to cut its head off.
28 days later, rage zombies is rabies for sure.
Yep.
Raccoons are food motivated? What'd you say, Tony?
Raccoons are definitely food motivated.
Yeah. I think most life as we know it is food motivated, right? It has to be. That's just the natural world on Earth. It's very violent and yeah, red in tooth and claw, as they say. I've seen pet skunks, man, they got attitude. Yeah, dude, a lot of the like bear cats, which are like skunks and raccoons, wolverines, badgers, that thing, they're like kind of a bear, kind of a cat. Weasels also fit into that. They're highly aggressive. Mammals in general are highly aggressive, which is really interesting. Is like if you think about that as a survival mechanism, like even herbivorous ones. So like if you're thinking of like rodents and stuff too, you know, mice, rats, squirrels, they're very, very aggressive. Considering their size, they're super tiny, but they will fucking come at you and bite the shit out of you. And it's interesting that how that works as like a survival mechanism. Or like dogs attacking bears that are like 15 times their size, and the bear's like, fuck that, I don't want that dog, I'm getting out of here, and they take off. The dogs that learned survived. Well, Artificial Sky, my understanding of how dogs became domesticated is that humans weeded out the more aggressive, you know, members of the population because we used them as like a tool. They helped a lot. Dogs have, you know, capacity that we don't have, and in partnership we could use dogs to hunt, and that helped increase food sources for both of us. So that like symbiotic relationship is why dogs work, right? And cats were really good at they just naturally wanted to chill in a warm place, and we give them a warm place with lots of vermin, like a grain storage, like a granary, and they keep our food safe, and they get their own food source, and they get warmth and comfort. So like that's how that worked. Cats are not really domesticated. They can survive completely without human beings. Some dogs can't. They revert to like a feral state, but certain dog breeds just cannot survive. Like a pug, you know, pugs can't survive in the wild. Bulldogs, nope. And that's all our fault. We made those dogs look that way, and they have tons of genetic problems. So, you ever see that old man feed a pack of hot dogs to a family of raccoons on his porch? Yes, I really like that video. It's a good one. Don't do that. The raccoons will come back. I also saw a video of a lady who lived in like Seattle area, and she was feeding the raccoons for like 10 years and then had to call 911 because there were like 48 raccoons like trying to break into her house because they all learned that she kept fucking feeding them. There were like multiple generations of raccoons and she didn't know what to do. And it's like, dude, you shouldn't have fucking fed them. That's the problem. If they cut the head off, does that break the curse? I don't know, Tony. You're our senior rabies correspondent here.
Sure. Yeah.
Cats are really good at giving us brain parasites that make us like them. Yeah, that's the Toxoplasmus parasite. Okay, so I don't know how much that translates to human beings, because again, we don't understand human psychology. The way it works in vermin, so like mice and rats and stuff that cats would normally hunt and kill and eat, it makes them not scared of the cat, and that's why that works. So I think the crossover to humanity and like how cat people are, I feel like it's a little more loose because we have high brain function that vermin don't have. Like they just don't function the same way. We have a prefrontal cortex that allows executive function over our impulses. So the fear response you can overcome with your brain. So that's why I don't know. I don't buy Toxoplasmus, parasite infestation as like, maybe if you have 15 cats and that's your whole thing and you're like a cat person in that way, yeah, you probably got like an infestation in your brain. I don't know, man. I've met a lot of people, or I've met people, and a lot of them are not that evolved. Yes, but I'm saying we don't, for the most part, most human beings don't react purely on instinct. That's why like society and laws exist, because we're like, dude, you can't do that shit. And people are like, fuck, you're right, I can't do that shit. Like when they've done really bad things and they go to jail for it. Like you can't do that shit. And your brain knows, and you can't do that shit. Otherwise, you're a dangerous person. And we don't really have a system by which we can accommodate the dangerous people that don't have that brain function. We had a woman at Arcane that fed the raccoons to bait them to sit by her window. Oh my God. Yeah, I imagine you can't do that. It's dangerous. Studio shut down before she got fired, but I think she was going to because there's a constant issue. Yeah, dude, that's crazy. I don't know if I could fight 48 raccoons. I think it depends on how much ammo you have, mocap. I think you could fight 48 raccoons if you had enough ammo. They would also probably fucking run if you murked like 3 of them right in front of them. They would be like, oh, hell no. Like they understand, they're not trying to get the smoke too. 90% fart and cat talk today. Yeah, that's your guys' fault. I brought some other stuff to discuss, but we got onto that. Time flies when you're having fun. Yeah, this is good. I can't believe it's already 4. Like it's been great chatting with you guys. My partner knew I asked that. Okay, I see what you mean. My partner knew I asked that as soon as you repeated it. All right, I'm tracking, turning cog. It's hard to decipher your meaning sometimes in text.
Alrighty, well, wrap this up.
Yeah, let's get it. Shooty, I'm assuming you're on your way home. Hit me up on Discord when you want to play some Night Rain, and we'll get into it. Yeah, thank you, Brightside. Thank you for everyone hanging out for the silly conversation topics.
Yep.
Well, Tony messed around with Gasp.
I got us, up on 5.7, got our C++ stuff merged. We can move forward. Good stuff.
We appreciate you, Brightside, the first in chat winner today. Hey, I hope you have a good beat off tonight. That doesn't include the HJs that you guys were talking about, or the old-fashioned, as we used to call it. Yeah, you're welcome, Turning Cog. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for chatting about the Gasp and the other stuff too. Actual useful topics of conversation. Yeah, everyone else. Yeah, have a good weekend. We'll see you guys next week. Dread's still cooking. The things we're working on right now are tech optimization and making sure that we have the right setup for the project so that we can build out the levels we need to do. So it's a little slow going showing that stuff on stream, but when we get there, you'll start to see more things get there. Huge performance increases. I think you showed that yesterday, right, Tony? Yeah. South Park episode about Randy needing an old fashioned. Absolutely. The shake weight. Yeah, dude.
Yeah, that's a classic South Park episode.
Mocap, you didn't know? Yeah, it's called an old fashioned, bro. Oh, that was one I missed, Tony. When I was talking about the Dutch rudder and all that other stuff.
Oh yeah, yep.
Old fashioned is one of those.
Old fashioned is a good one for sure.
Yeah. All right, guys. Y'all enjoy your old fashions. Hopefully you get to do that with someone else and not just by yourself. But we'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much for the support. You guys have been really amazing. We love you guys. Thank you so much for everything. Anna with the regift or the resub today. Yeah, you guys are great. Have a good weekend. We'll see y'all later.